You're watching the Hong Kong Racing Show. Andrew Brown and Alex Evers with you for another jam-packed episode. Our special guest this week, Resolute Racing owner John Stewart, who'll be joining us shortly to talk Goliath, heading to Champions Day at Sha Tin for the QEII Cup, along with a host of other topics. So really looking forward to catching up with John in just a few minutes. Also looking forward to catching up with Alex, who's been away, but he's now back from his trip to Saudi and Hong Kong. Nice to be back in the US of A, Alex.
Yeah, nice to be back. Nice to be back with the wife and dogs. Get over the jet lag a little bit, and then getting ready to get back on the road in a couple weeks for Derby.
Speaking of the Hong Kong Derby, you were there, of course, to witness the Hong Kong Classic Cup last week, taken out by David Hayes' trainee Ruby Lot, one of three winners on the day for the gun, Brenton Avdulla. What'd you make of the race?
Good race. That's a nice horse. He's pretty consistent, too, despite running sixth in the Classic Mile. He had a nice late sectional there, and obviously he ran a great race here again, coming home a little over 22 seconds flat. And this group is just an enigma to me because they are running closer to the stand side than the inside rail. It's a lot of work for pictures that don't actually materialize. So Derby should be a blast. I can't wait to get out there and see what happens. But Ruby Lot's got to be the favorite going forward into the Derby. Yeah. And kind of horses like Mickley disappointing, Cap Ferrat disappointing. You know, I don't know what's going to pop up, but it's still a wide open division in that Derby, and who's going to stay the 2,000 meters looks like it's going to be the key to the race.
Yeah, for sure. And whilst it does look wide open, some international bookies have already got Ruby Lot as short as 5-2 early favouritism for the Derby coming up in a few weeks' time. So I don't know if I'd be taking short odds like that. One of Brenton's other winners on the day was enthralled for trainer John Sires, who could also be a sneaky chance if he gets into the field. I won't hold you to this, Alex, but if you had to have one Derby pick right now, who would it be?
Still going to go with My Wish.
Yeah?
I liked his run. He was pulling up the pace. That pace was quick, too. They went conversely to what they did in the Classic Mile, where they went really slow up front. This one, they went quicker. It's always such a weirdly run race, that 1,800 meters there at Sha Tin, because sometimes you get horses that stay out on the front end at long prices. This was a little bit more formful, but a 2,000 meter race, it looks like it's going to be barriers to be really, really important to that race and kind of what happens with the pace. I was kind of surprised to see Noisy Boy out there by himself like that quickly, but nothing's ever a surprise in Hong Kong. You always get some kind of crazy results in that race.
No, that's right. The thing about My Wish too, which we've discussed on this show, once he hit the front there on the weekend, I thought that was it. I thought he'd go on with it. I think both Luke Ferraris and Mark Newnham have told us that he'd never been headed once he hit the front in his races up until that point. So that's the first time that someone has gone past him. But yeah, that was an interesting race, and all credit to Ruby Lot. It's been pretty awesome to have so many star jockeys in town over the last few weeks too, hasn't it? From all over the world as well. What's it been like being there and being amongst it and photographing them?
It's really fun to photograph too, especially because it's like not a Breeders' Cup day or not an international meet. You're looking at these jockeys, and they're some of the best jockeys in the world. And you see photos in Class 4 race with Ryan Moore and James McDonald battle into the wire. And in fact, I just enjoyed watching Ryan ride at Happy Valley. Like, when he's not on the top horses in the world with Coolmore throwing him out there, he's riding some of these horses and he's just getting down so hard, so gritty. He's seriously one of the best in the world, and we just get a treat to watch some of these guys ride on a more consistent basis. That's one of the great things for me that I love about Hong Kong, is being exposed to some of the best jockeys in the world on such an even level with some of the horses.
Well, Hong Kong Champions Day is just around the corner, and there will be North American representation this year with the Resolute Racing owned Goliath set to tackle the QE2 Cup. We are thrilled to be joined by Resolute Racing owner John Stewart to talk more about it. John, thanks for joining us. What was behind your decision to tackle Champions Day with the mighty Goliath?
Well, we really enjoyed ourselves at the Japan Cup, and I wanted to go to Dubai with him, and we just felt like he needed a little bit of a break, and so we gave that to him, and then we wanted to campaign him as well, potentially to run in the Arc, and of course they decided that they're not going to let geldings run, and so they just made the Arc like a second class race now, by doing that, in my opinion. And so I've decided he's not going to run in France this year, if that they don't appreciate him for what he is. And so we're going to take him on a global campaign. He Even though he came in sixth at the Japan Cup, he has a tremendous following there, and a lot of fans. And we intend to go back with him this year. I will not go in that race with one horse. I will be taking a pace setting horse with me, because we kind of got all the European horses. It was kind of like the three Europeans against the 14 Japanese horses, and they knew they could not give us a pace, because all of the three European horses would have benefited from pace. So I'm 100% going to have a second horse that's going to be in there to set the pace for Mighty Goliath.
I mean, I thought he ran a huge race regardless in Japan. Like it was a six, but a close up six behind Juice.
Yeah, we just never got to see him. We never, it was funny because Francis, told Christoph right before we left the paddock. He's like, whatever you do, don't get out front. And I didn't agree with it, but I didn't say anything because I was just like, like if he wanted to get out front, I would have rather him ran 3/4 of the race out front and then came in sixth, than to not really be able to show his ability because the pace was just so slow. And he does better the longer the distance. I thought he did really well. He traveled over there. I was really proud of him. He's a classy horse. I'm really proud of Francis. A lot of trainers, the American trainers are all chicken. None of them want to run internationally because they're afraid of like missing some stats in their races or whatever. So I train with all the trainers. I tell them, I call them out all the time that they're chicken to run internationally, and I think international racing is what is a future part of this sport that really can make this thing exciting for everyone.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, you just alluded to it then, the impact Goliath made with Japanese racing fans. Surely that must have felt like a bit of a victory in itself, particularly with your, connection with Japan from your time at Toyota. What was that side of the Japan Cup experience like for you to be able to take a horse like Goliath to the fans?
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, we didn't get one negative comment on social media about him coming in sixth place. Like it wasn't like, oh, we're so much better than European horses, or everybody was thank you for bringing the champion Goliath. They were just so genuinely happy, and we made little like Pokemon cards, but they were of Goliath, and we asked the JRA to let us hand them out the track, and they were like, nope, nope, it'll be too much of a commotion, and we didn't really understand that, but so we decided and did a post on social media that we would hand them out in downtown Tokyo, and we had like 5,000 people show up and stop traffic, and the police tried to give me a ticket, and I ended up giving them an autograph and just like walking off and trying to see if that would work, and so it did. I didn't end up getting a ticket, but we signed autographs for like 3 hours. Had people stalking us in our hotel in the mornings, and just a great experience. Everybody was very respectful, and when we were in the paddock, the people and the respect they had for Goliath. I mean, they just Japanese people, they like to see the best of everything. They're that way about their cars and their lives and everything. And so I think they really really appreciated that. And I think fans around the world are similar. Like I think like deep down Australians wonder like how our champions go against the European champions and the American champions, and everybody kind of down, like Winks was an incredible horse, but how would she have done in the Breeders' Cup, right? I think people would like to, just like to know like that, right? And so I'm going to make that happen. Like I'm bound and determined, and I'll make some mistakes along the way, like I did with Dona Colada. I brought her up from Chile. She was Triple Crown, beat the boys, 2 out of 3 Triple Crown races in Chile. I bought her the day before the third Triple Crown race and scratched her and sent her to Miami to run in the Pegasus, and she didn't run well, so it's on me going from Southern Hemisphere to Northern Hemisphere. But like I told my team, I'm proud of them because we tried it, and now she's getting a little break and she'll acclimate properly, and she's going to be, a real big standout. But I think those kind of things are fun and exciting for the fans. There were people from Chile that flew to Miami just to watch her run. So I think that's an awesome accomplishment itself.
No, that is awesome. I mean, you're preaching to the converted here with Alex and I, John, in terms of getting the best horses around the world matching up against each other. We don't have to look too far back, just seeing that awesome clash between Forever Young and Romantic Warrior at the Saudi
Oh,
Cup.
but what a wonderful race that was, right? Like that was,
Yeah.
I mean, and neither horse like deserves anything but accolades. I mean, for Romantic Warrior to do what he did, converting from turf to dirt, and I mean that was amazing. That was just absolutely amazing to watch his run. And then Forever Young just showed that he deserves to be in the conversation as like one of the best dirt horses on the planet. So, and he traveled to the Kentucky Derby, which it's hard to do that, and ran a spectacular race there. I thought that was one of the best races I've seen all year, and I was so excited to watch that race.
Yeah, we need more owners like you who are,
Oh,
who are pushing the globalization of racing. We need more American interest and competition because it is great, and it seems to be going the way of like F1 racing, where we're having these monthly international meets and the circus goes on. It's like it literally is like a traveling circus, seeing the same people. And
Yeah, that's a vision I have. I own two suppliers for F1 racing. I own a company that makes transmissions and one that makes the electric motors, and we make them for Red Bull Racing and a couple of other teams. And I've been talking to some of my friends in F1. I would love to see like four F1 races a year that are global that match up with horse racing on the same week. And so, like, if you bought a paddock pass for the F1 race, you would actually get a paddock pass for the horse race and do some like championship races like that around the world. You could do it in Saudi, you could do it in America, you could do it in in Australia, you could do it in Hong Kong, you could do it in all of these different places, and they're looking for keeping the crowd and entertainment up, because if you've been to an F1 race, you can get there on like Tuesday or Wednesday and stay all the way through the week, and they just don't have a lot of activities, for to keep everybody engaged. So they want like more things for people to do. And then I think horse racing could learn from the merchandising, the fan experience that they've created in F1. I mean, when you get people standing in line to pay $150 for a hat, you've done a pretty good job with your merchandising, and horse racing's not even touched that opportunity.
I love it. Horses and horsepower together.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good to me. Hey, John, I wanted to ask you, how many times have you watched the replay of Goliath's King George win?
I don't know. I bet I watched it 100 times before I made an offer to buy him. I mean, he beat the best of Europe in that race. And he's just such a phenomenal horse, and that's what I liked about him, is that he beat the best. He beat the best horses. It wasn't a weak field. It wasn't like an off race. The other horses actually ran well, and him being a gelding, like if the horse wasn't a gelding, there's no way I could buy him. Like his pedigree is not really like stallion pedigree. That's why I didn't buy his dam when she was for sale. And you have these anomalous horses that are like really good, but just don't have a strong pedigree behind them. White Abario in America is kind of similar, right? He just like traunched everybody, and at Pegasus, and but there's no stallion deal on the table for him, but he's just like just literally won by 10 lengths or something in the race there. It's crazy, and so him being a gelding opened up the opportunity for me to buy the majority control. You don't have to buy 100% for a gelding because there's no residual value, and so once you can make the decisions, and Philip von Ullman, the breeder and the owner, is great to race him with. We have a good time together. Really, really good guy. We spent time in Japan together, and but it's just fun. It's just like, and again, like I'm going to show up at Ascot this year. I went last year, and and I had 3 horses from America. They didn't race well. We don't know how to run on a hill, and we don't train for it. So I got Vertical Blue, the best filly in France. I bought her this year. And she's going to be running at Royal Ascot. I got Goliath, who's going to be running at Royal Ascot. I mean, I got 2 live deals, and I am good friends with Tom and MV at Coolmore, but I've already told them I want nothing more than to beat them at Ascot.
That's great.
I love it. How big a thrill is it to see? And given that you've been in the game for such a short time, Resolute Racing's colours at some of the biggest race days in the world, such as Ascot, you mentioned, the Kentucky Derby, Breeders' Cup, Australia's in the future.
Yeah, look, I mean, it makes me proud. I don't do anything halfway. I've told people that a lot, and I don't do a lot of things. Like, I'm not into a lot of different things. Like I used to play some golf. I don't have time to play golf now, with my business, my private equity firm, and then, with racing. And so, almost every weekend, we're flying somewhere and we're there when our horses are racing for the most part. I take a lot of pride in Resolute, and what we're trying to do is, which is a little differentiated. I mean, I know everybody wants to win stakes races, but 70+% of the races we raced in last year were stakes races in our first year, and we were 57% in the money with 12 wins. Not bad, for the first year getting in, but we were the top 15 owners for stakes winners for last year. This year, I want to be in the top 5. I've got 54 horses training in America in my second year, 51 2-year-olds in America. And so I've got like a pretty good, this year and next year, you're going to see those Resolute Silks a lot. And, I have learned the trainers will often run 4 or 5 horses in the race. And who their favorite is by their favorite jockey and who he's on, right? So what I do now is I'm having multiple horses in the races, and then I put in incentive programs with the jockeys, so they want to ride my horses. So if you are a jockey and you win a grade 3 or a group 3 for me, you get a $25,000 bonus on top of whatever you earn. If you get a group 2, you get a $35,000 bonus, and a group 1 gets you a $50,000 bonus. So if they all things are equal and they think my horse has an equal opportunity, I think they'll want to be on my horse versus somebody else's.
Yeah.
John, let's flash back. How are you exposed to racing, or when did you get into racing as a young man?
Yeah, so I Kentucky. I was born and raised in a small town in Kentucky. I was not born there, but I was raised there. And then I moved up to Lexington when I started working for Toyota. I started, as an hourly worker. Most people know the story. And of course, Keeneland is right there in Lexington. So I started out just going to Keeneland to the races and just really loved it from the beginning. But I was a person that thought horse ownership was like impossible, right? I thought it was very cliquey. The owners all know each other. You can't get close to the trainers and the jockeys. And, it's just like you're on the other side of the rail. It looks like a mysterious world that, you can't really be a part of it. And so, I was a fan, went to the Derby and actually before starting Resolute, I'd only been to Churchill Downs and Keeneland. I'd never been to any other track. And so, I don't bet on an app or anything, but I was a pretty good horse player. I'm sorry, I lost my lights here. I'm a pretty good horse player. I don't know what happened here. There we go. And so I really got into the statistics, and, I started out betting on, the jockeys first, because I figured the better jockeys run the better horses. And then I got into like the speed figures and the form and pace and really got into the data analytics side of it. And so when I did go to the races, I actually do really good when I bet and enjoy that. And so I was married, and my wife, she didn't want me to buy a horse for nothing. Like she, thought, like that's just one more thing for you to get into, and you just started your own business and you don't have enough time. And so then she left me, and I was like, well, I'm going to buy a horse now. Like, kind of like it's, getting divorced is not the greatest thing in the world. I never want to be divorced, but I will tell you, it's kind of like you're a teenager again, but you have money, you know? And so, like, you don't have to ask anybody else's permission to do anything. You can just do it. And so I just decided to, jump in with both feet and started buying some horses. And then my partner, he's responsible. We've been partner at work together for over 30 years. I bought some yearlings at Keeneland. He goes, you should just buy a horse farm. And I was like, that sounds like a good idea. So I started looking for horse farms and bought a horse farm. And and now 230 horses later, we're off and racing.
Living the dream.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's an awesome story.
You're a businessman, John, and I'm sure there's a lot of cost analysis when it comes to your growing thoroughbred operation, but you're also obviously a huge fan of the sport. Does your fandom sometimes win over the economic side of things in terms of what races you want to win with your horses, or can the economics and fandom work in tandem?
So I think from a racing standpoint, I think like there's the return on investment from just winnings. It's really hard, right, to make a return on investment on horses. So you almost have to be in the breeding side of things if you want to make money over the long term. And there's a lot of value in that because in America, a horse is a security, like just like stock is, like gold, or anything like that. So there's a huge tax benefit in America to horse racing because you can depreciate the asset, against other assets. So because I own another profitable business, I actually get a pretty decent discount on my purchasing because it's kind of deferring against my taxable income. So it's beneficial from that side. But look, I have a car collection and I like going to auctions and bidding myself. I will never show up at an auction and have someone else buy the horse. Like that just isn't going to happen. I don't care if everybody knows I'm buying it. And sometimes I love for them to know I'm going to buy the horse. Like I told everybody about the Wings filly when I tried to buy her last year. I like it. I think it's kind of like it's competitive. There's strategy involved in it. In the auction, I think it's a lot of fun. And so I enjoy that part of it as well. But yeah, I mean, look, sometimes the romance of the sport gets the better of me. I've already told like the trainers, if they win at Royal Ascot, they can have the purse. I don't care. I want the trophy. I want the king to hand me a trophy, and then I want to look over at MV Magner and I want to point at him, and and have a little fun there with them. And trust me, the Coolmore guys would be super excited for me to win a race there. We have that. I took them to the Super Bowl this year, and Tom and his wife flew up from Australia to come to the Super Bowl, and we had a big time together. And so I think it's great to have rivalries and to want to beat your friends on the track and be able to have fun with them afterwards and to do all those things. But absolutely, the romance of it like gets to me. I want to run in the Melbourne Cup. I won't show up at the Melbourne Cup until I have a runner. Mm-hmm. Like if you people want to know when I'm going to show up, it's when I'm going to have a horse running in it.
Because and that could be this year.
Huh?
That could be this year.
I tried last year. I tried to buy a couple. I had some people looking for me. But yeah, look, if I'm showing up, I'm running in the race. Like I want to have action. Yeah. And we'll have some action this year. We got a few 2-year-olds. We got a nice crop coming behind them, about 13 more. And we'll probably buy a few horses that are running down there in Australia. I'd like to be breeding 30 to 50 mares in Australia in the next 5 years. Wow. And I'm already up to that in America. I've breeding 51 this year. And I'll be breeding 100 within the next 3 years up here. And so, Australia was always going to be my second base.
Well, speaking of Australia, I know you like to focus on turf racing and the world's richest race on turf, the Everest, contested over the 6 furlongs, a little too short for Goliath. But is that a race that's on your radar, John?
Yeah, I would love to win that one. Gay Waterhouse has already promised me with the yearling that we bought, she's going to win that race. So let's call her on the carpet, and make sure, she wins that one. But look, I think the atmosphere that you guys have in Australia around racing is awesome. Kentucky is if you've not been to Kentucky, it's an awesome atmosphere. It really is. You can show up on a Wednesday and there's 40,000 people watching horse racing. That's a really good environment. But second in the world to Kentucky is Australia. I think the fans are really passionate about it. And they've really embraced us as well, and we really appreciate that. It's one of the reasons I'm trying to build the stable down there. Because I want to race down there. We just had our first trial. The Booker filly that I own with Coolmore, she just ran in a trial yesterday, and so and ran well. She's probably got one more trial before she goes to break her maiden. But looks like she's going to be an early type, and so that's going to be fun. And really excited about it.
The Everest is a slot race, don't you, John? And I think there is one slot left for sale this year. Are you thinking of buying it?
You never know with me. I'll probably get off this phone call and text, somebody down there and ask them how I buy the slot, to get into it, but, no, look, I would definitely, like that would be a race that I want to win. There's a lot of races down in Australia I want to win. I want to race. I want Goliath to come race in Australia. And just finding the right race, because I do want to go to the Japan Cup again, with him, and just finding the right race to bring him down to. It may not be like one of the super big races, because you guys tend to have those, in the kind of November timeframe, which would be difficult to pull off with the Japan Cup. But he's headed to Hong Kong, and we have a plan for him. But I sometimes like to change the plan. And if we're over in Hong Kong, if there's something that lined up well with him, that we could come down to Australia and let him maybe acclimate for a couple months, and then run him down there. I think that would be really, really exciting for people. He's a magnificent horse. He has string halt, which we've checked with the stewards already, and they've said that he could race down there, because it's like a known issue and it's not causing him any problems. So we've already kind of cleared that. Chris Waller's already said that he would partner with Francis and help him if we want to bring him down there and train, and so we're excited about that. I've got some really good turf horses in America that are 3-4 years old right now, and some of those, like, I have no intention of running them in the same American races and just trying to win the same races over and over. So some of my top stock will come down to Australia and race next year. And then my plan is I would retire them, breed them to Australian stallions, and then send them back up to the States so they get some of that diversity of the bloodlines. I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, that would be. Well, I want to let you know too, I think Aussie bookmakers think that you're going to run Goliath in the Caulfield Cup over the 1.5 miles in about mid-October, currently 25-1 and 20.
Yeah, we like the idea of that race. We're trying to figure out how to make that happen.
Nice. And just back on that Everest slot, 700,000 Aussie, and given its weakness at the moment, that's
nothing. That's like $100 American. Come on.
450,000 US.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Bargain. You get yourself a slot in a $20 million race. So that's pretty good. Well, John, I really want to thank you for your time. I think you've really opened our eyes into everything that you're trying to do, and we're excited to have Goliath in Hong Kong. What are the plans between now and next month in terms of Goliath and shipping him to Hong Kong?
Yeah, I think we're going to try to get him there a little bit early so he can acclimate. Whether he runs a race before then or not, I don't think he needs to. He's a proven, established horse. If Francis wants to do that with him, the European training style, they don't breeze the horses in between races. a lot. They would prefer to race them. And so, if he chooses to do something like that, we'll talk about it. Right now, that's not on the plan. Um, but we do want to get him back, to run at Royal Ascot, which will be, in the June timeframe. So, we want to get him back over there for that. But Caulfield Cup is really attractive. And Francis is willing to take. The reason Francis is training my horses is because he's willing to go and travel internationally. He's a great trainer. I think the Australian fans would really like him. He does a really good job interacting and with them, and I think that would be like super exciting to see him, come down there. But we'll definitely be bringing. I'm still trying to cut some deals on some top 20 horses in the world right now, and I'm definitely going to be bringing some champion horses down to Australia to some of the bigger races in the next year or two.
Yeah, nice. Alex, I'd love to see Goliath and Romantic Warrior.
Yeah,
meet
that
one
would
day.
be
That
that would be
pretty
unreal.
cool.
Yeah,
That would be unreal.
yeah, I would love it. Like I think there's nothing better than to see the best horses racing against the best horses.
Mm.
And there's some things we got to fix. The immigration issue for the horses. Like I brought Dona Colada up from Chile to run in Miami, but then she had to go out of training for 7 days,
Yep.
like right before a big race.
Mm.
Like we need almost like an international passport, and the horses have to go through like a higher regiment of like health and wellness, but then they can ship in and stay in training and have dedicated facilities. So I think there's some things that we need to do in order to make it easier. Like for example, I can't ship horses from South Africa directly to Australia. I can't ship horses from Argentina to Australia. I can ship them to America, but I can't ship them to Australia. And some of those South American horses would do really well, I think, in Australia. And so, so I have to send them up to America. I've got to let them, spend 6 months here before they can even come back. And then you're getting them on Northern Hemisphere, and then they got to go back. So we've got to fix some of those regulation issues and things that are going on. And I think like an international passport, where there's like protocols that every horse has to follow and things, like that. I mean, we ship horses in from all over the world for the Breeders' Cup, and I don't think we've, knock on wood, we've not had one instance, of some kind of issue because of like, a horse bringing a disease or, anything like that into the country. And, we do it for the Kentucky Derby. We have horses fly in and do it. So it can be done. And I just don't think there's been a big demand for it. But, I think in the future, that's something that, I want to try to work on so that I can move these horses around a little bit easier.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Because as you say, I think what the sport loves internationally, and Romantic Warrior has shown it, lots of other stars like Winks you mentioned, is that there is a following of horse racing internationally, right? There's people fans in the UK following Australian racing. There's American fans following Hong Kong racing. It's all connected, and we all want to see the best horses around the world competing against each other. And yeah, we're excited to be able to see Goliath do that in Hong Kong next month. John, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on the Hong Kong Racing Show. Alex will probably be there to welcome you to Hong Kong on International Day and take some nice photos of Goliath while you're there. And good luck between now and then, and good luck flying the flag for America in Hong Kong.
Yeah, absolutely. And we look forward to meeting the Hong Kong racing fans. And we're going to have some surprises in store for them as well.
Nice.
And hopefully we'll create a nice buzz over there for the race as well.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Thanks, John.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Great to have John on the show. Time now to take a look at a couple of the key races at Sha Tin. Saturday night, North American time. We'll start with the Kowloon City Handicap, a Class 1 over the 6 furlongs, where Invincible Sage, well, he gets his opportunity after running into to much tougher recently, including the likes of QEII Rising. Number 2, Lucky With You. He's the last out winner, as is number 3, Magic Control, who was very impressive last time out. 6, Co-Partner Prance likes to go forward, and let's see where he is on the speed map. 2 off the fence. outside Whiz Kid behind the projected leader Drombeg Banner. Alex, your top three in the Kowloon City Handicap, please.
I think Invincible Sage, it's a little bit too hard for him. Magic Control, it's a little bit too far for him. And Lucky With You looks just right to me. That's who I'm with here, with Drumbig Banner second, kind of getting tired there late, and Taj Dragon, the other pairing horse, to bring in third. What do you like here, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm actually still siding with Invisible Sage. I just think you'll find this a lot easier, back to a more suitable distance to 6 furlongs. As we mentioned, no Kaying Rising, no Helios Express to contend with here. I have Magic Control in for second on the back of what looked to be a pretty nice win last time out. And I just thought with no weight on his back, perhaps Mugen can recapture some form and run a cheeky race. So there might be some value on offer in that race, some difference in opinions. The other race we're going to have a look at is race 9, the Southwall Handicap, where number 1, the Boombox, is looking to make it 4 wins from 4 starts. He is stepping up to 7 furlongs for the first time. Other chances look to be number 5, Magnificent 9, who broke his maiden last out. Number 9, Call Me Gorgeous, and 11, Armour War Eagle, not without their chances. The speed map has 3, Gracious Express, and 12, Beauty Glory, setting the pace. Alex, who do you like here?
You're not seeing any biases on the track, until we watch the races. I like the Boombox on top. He's a pretty nice type. 1400 might be a bit far from him. We don't quite know yet. It's doing something for the first time that he hasn't been asked to do at high weight. But I like him with Magnificent 9 and Armor War Eagle.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm with you here. I like the Boombox. Just keeps stepping up and has sort of overcome adversity on each of his 3 starts too. Keeps drawing wide, keeps getting the job done. Carice Teeton taking over from Vincent Home. We all know Carice has been riding well of late. Lightning of being an interesting runner for me, has shown a little bit of toe in the trial, so might be up there on the speed and could surprise at odds. So that is a look at a couple of the feature races at Sha Tin on Saturday night North American time. We've got an 11 race card. The first race is kicking off around 8:30 PT. 11:30 ET Saturday night North American time, and that is our show. What a show it was. Great to have John Stewart on the show as we get ready for Goliath to head to Hong Kong. That's going to be exciting stuff, and I'm sure will give us plenty to talk about over the next few weeks as we head into Champions Day in late August. But we've got the Hong Kong Derby before that. Alex, it's great to have you back in the country, man, even if it's just briefly.
Is just briefly back with the plushies and the stuffed animals and the Golden 60 merch and all the good stuff. And nice to be home for a couple weeks. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get some rest before we send you back to Hong Kong to capture some more awesome content for all those Hong Kong racing fans around the world. Thanks for joining us, and thank you for watching the Hong Kong Racing Show. Keep following us on HK Racing US, that's Hong Kong Racing North America on X, and check out the Hong Kong Jockey Club website for all your free Ps, trials, replays, and more. We'll see you next week on the Hong Kong Racing Show.